Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a scale assembly for you on this little guy right here. This is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with a set of Lotus-style scales from Flytanium. So my goal here is just going to be to put these scales on this knife, and we're going to see how easy that goes. So in practice, you need a T8 driver, T10 driver, and a little bit of time and some persistence. Not too much ideally, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm popping out these screws first. Come on. Get out of there, bro. There we go. And then I'll pop out the pivot, which is T10. Come here, T10 driver. There we go. By the way, if you're curious about these or any of the other tools I'm using, nickshabazz.com/tools has a full description. Now, one could make an argument. Am I about to be that one? No, I'm not. I'm going to do the full disassembly. I was going to say you could probably just swap them one at a time without ever doing the complete disassembly, but I'll go ahead and do that because I think most people who are doing this could probably use to get in there and maintain the knife a little bit as they are going through the process. One of the downsides of custom scales for the PM2 is that this lanyard tube is very often pressed open, right? And so as a result, it becomes a little harder to dislodge. I've taken the scales off this knife before, and so it's not the first time I fought this battle, but it is still something you're going to want to keep in mind. If your lanyard tube doesn't want to come off, oftentimes what you're just going to be doing is kind of, and not using a lot of force, but just like wiggle, 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 get that off of there. That'll usually do your trick for you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use the some rubbing alcohol here. Just clean off the blade area. This knife is very clean. It's been sitting on my review desk as my size comparison PM2. So there's really not a whole lot else going on with it, but, oh, there's the other washer. All right, just clean off the washers here, but just getting everything good to go before I put the new scales on here. I want to make sure everything's running as well as it can be. Okay, so I've taken all this apart. I've put the washer down there. I've cleaned off the blade. So then this, what I'm gonna do here is just for my own reference, use a little bit of knife pivot lube here, and I'm going to attach the washer using some grease to the proper liner. That way I won't get those two mixed up. And just surface tension will keep it on there. That way as I take the rest of this guy apart, I'm going to take the blade and put it out of play for a moment and move the scales. I'm not going to get those things mixed up. Next up, what I'm going to do is unscrew this pivot on this side here. And that will loosen this guy right here. And then I need to just remove these two screws and remove the clip. And again, this is the full disassembly approach. One could picture leaving the, like installing the tie scale on the other side at an intermediate step here and then just swapping sides. But for the moment, I'm doing the whole thing. That's T10, I want T8. So I've now used a T6 driver to get this, the scales off. Forgot about T6. Okay, I'm going to drop, oh, that needs to go here, actually. How am I doing this? I am not doing it brilliantly, that's for damn sure. Just trying to keep my screws in the right position, but I realize I went exactly backwards of my normal. So that goes there. Shouldn't matter, but just in case, and we pop this loose. This is a well-designed knife for disassembly, I would say. Aside from the lanyard tube being a bit of a pain in the neck, by and large, it's pretty easy to take apart a PM2. Which is a joy. Okay, next up is going to be getting this lanyard tube off. That's not going to be ideal, but it shouldn't be too crazy. So what I'm going to do here to start, actually, is I'm going to use my iFixit little pry tool. It's been on camera the whole time. It's a foreshadowing. It's like Chekhov's gun, right? For those of you who don't have that reference, it's an adage of playwriting that if a gun is on the mantle in the first act, it'll be shot in the last one. So, it's Chekhov's pry tool, if you will. That was a strange reference to bring into a knife disassembly, but you know what? Here we are. So what we see here is it's starting to come loose. It's starting to pop loose, so I'm just going to go on ahead and use Chekhov's pry tool again. And this time I'm going to come from the other side. And we're getting pretty close. Kind of using the scale itself to lever around the pry tool and start popping that loose. See, this is the kind of thing I was talking about. Not using a lot of force here. Just sort of squeezing. And that's just going to lever things apart very slowly but surely. Then there's going to come a point where I'm actually, oh yeah, I'm at that point now, where I can use the scale itself as a lever. And then I'm just sliding back and forth, until eventually it pops loose. And I eat it halfway across the room. All right. So, we have everything disassembled now. Let's go ahead and do the reassembly. Is there anything else I need to clean here? I'll go ahead and I'll clean this washer, and I'll clean this liner, just to make sure. Okay, so I want to build it up from the clip side first, because that's what I took off last. What we see here is that this guy is... which side is which? Looks like this side goes up, so I'm going to go ahead and... That doesn't actually rotate. That's more to give me friction, to keep things down there. And then the other thing you're going to notice is that one side of the pivot is... if you look at the pivot itself here, you will see that one side is completely round and the other side has a little D-shape cut out on it. This right here, if we look at the liner, has a D-shape cut out to it. So I want to make sure that I'm putting the liner, or I'm putting the pivot barrel basically in the correct position. The bushing, I suppose, is what this would be. So I want to make sure I put the D-shape on the D-shaped side. Now what I'm going to do is just flip the thing over, grab my T10 bit, and grab some thread locker. And I'm going to go ahead and screw this in. There we go. And right now my goal is not to get, complete tightness or anything. I just want to get the parts in, so to speak. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do, just while I'm thinking about it here, is put in the lanyard tube. There we go. That was easy. In fact, too easy. Whatever. It's a trap. All right. Now I'm going to put the stop pin screw in place. Forgive me if I seem slightly scattered. This is my 6th disassembly film today. I have been a little behind. Always worth perhaps a reminder, this is not my day job, nor will it ever be, I sort of hope, right? But anyways, so sometimes real life means you can't be taking apart PM2s every damn day of the week. In fact, I would venture to say, guys, I'm so sorry. I am so very sorry. This is my 6th disassembly today. You're all like, yeah, no, you've been on Zoom for 10 minutes. Ay. Get a better reviewer. It's time. All right, so now that I've got everything zoomed out here, you can see, I'm such an idiot. You can see now that all of this guy it's set up on this side. Next thing I'm going to do is drop the blade in place. Put a little bit of lubrication inside the pivot there, and a little bit onto the washer itself. And then I'll just drop the blade on position. On position. Yes, that's how the English works. I'm just going to throw random prepositions at the wall and see which ones stick. That's the level of discourse I've reached today. Next thing I'm going to do is put an incredible amount of knife pivot lube into the pivot area. Whoops. And I'm going to go on ahead and put actually that'll distribute itself onto the detent ball. And so I'm just going to slip everything down onto here. Good. After that, I almost just put the G10 back on. People, I need to stop is what I need to do. I need to go and work in the garden or something before I become a threat to future pocket knives. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of thread locker on this side here, and I'm just going to turn this in. Again, my goal here is not to get this perfect. My goal there is to get this guy acceptable, and then hit the camera with my Batman mask. Nice. I guess this answers whether I can keep going, right? The answer is no. But it's important to be kind to yourself in these kinds of situations, he says, struggling with that idea. We did not evolve to create disassembly videos on YouTube. This is Blind Evolutionary Alley, whatever the heck happened to me. All right, so let's go on ahead and see where we're at. In terms of action, we have no play, which is good. But it's also a little tighter than I might like it to be. So I'm going to loosen... Which side did I do first? I did the clip side first. I'm going to loosen that side a little bit. No play. Okay, that's a nice action. But is that too loose? No? Nice, we are centered. I'm going to just go ahead and check the other screws, make sure they're fully tightened. Again, my goal isn't to put a whole bunch of torque on it. I mean, you see how much work my fingers are doing here. And it's not like I got big burly hands and fingers, as commenters are very prone to point out. Put a little thread locker on these screws and go ahead and drop this clip in place. I got to be honest with you, the clip looks a little bit... yeah, out of place here, perhaps. But that's perfectly fine. Okay. Wow, that looks really nice. Feels pretty good, too. This is a titanium PM2. Neat. Reason I'm doing this is not just because I'm going crazy, although that probably helps. It was just to check to see whether the lanyard hole is going to, lanyard tube that is going to be rattling around in there. Sometimes that happens. Doesn't appear to this time. Great. All right, so we're all set. Flytanium is installed. 12 minutes, not so bad. Maybe you could see a couple of those minutes. But yeah, hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.